This country was formed with a radical idea that the people rule the government rather than the government ruling the people. Now, that idea has been eroded almost since the beginning, but the rate at which the people have voluntarily given up their sovereignty to become servants of government has exploded over the last few decades, in fact, over the last year. So today, I want to ponder the power structure the framers created compared to how we live today, and consider some ideas to preserve rights and liberties in America. And we'll ponder that next on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here once again with another Ponder This episode of the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution. We teach the rising generation to be free. And today we're going to ponder this idea of the structure and order of government. Before we do that, though, please head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Hey, just sign up and get your free book. Click the book icon and I'll give you a free book. You'll find out not only more of these videos and more of these articles, but other ways you can engage and participate and use this information to preserve the sacred fires of liberty right here in the United States. And of course, everything that is there is free. You are free to share it. You are free to use it. The only thing I ask is you point other people back to the website. And if you like the work that I'm doing and you want to donate, well, you can do that there as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. But for now, let's talk about who actually rules whom in this country. Hopefully we remember from the Declaration of Independence the line that reads, "And to preserve these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." Now, that's an idea that was radical in 1776 and is supposed to be part of our structure today, but seems to be disappearing at an alarming rate in America. The idea that governments are instituted among us to protect our rights, that they get their just powers from our consent. In other words, the people rule the government. That was the idea that birthed a nation, first with the Lee Resolution announced in the Declaration of Independence and solidified in the Articles of Confederation and eventually in the Constitution. But today it seems like the people serve at the whim of governments at all levels. Let's take a look at some of the history and some of the law that maybe we've forgotten and maybe we need to learn to apply again. Now, I want to start with George Washington. He's called the father of our country. Not only was he the general that led the army that won the Revolutionary War, he was president of the Continental Congress that drafted the Constitution. He was our first president, and he is the only man I know who voluntarily gave up power. Now, at his first inaugural, he said, quote, "And since the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican model of government are justly considered as deeply, perhaps as finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people." See, those sacred fires of liberty, our rights, our liberty, are entrusted into our own hands. Washington was reminding us that this experiment in self-government, these rights, these liberties, even the idea of a republic is entrusted, rightly so, into our hands. Sadly, I don't think we've done a very good job with it. Now, if we go back to the Declaration of Independence, we are familiar with the line, unalienable rights and consent of the governed. But if you go down to the bottom, if you go down to the end of the Declaration, we read this, quote, "We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states." Now, there's two important things I want you to notice here. What was done in Philadelphia in 1776 was done in the name of the people and by the authority of the people of the colonies. This was not people in Philadelphia dictating to the colonies what they were going to do. They were acting in their name. They were acting as representatives. Think of that. When you hire a representative, whether they go to Washington or your state capital, they are acting in your name and by your authority. Think about that as you look at some of the legislation that comes out of these bodies. Would you really be proud to put your name to such stuff? And if not, why do you let your employee do it? But here's the second thing to notice, that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. You see, today, everything seems to come from Washington. We focus all of our attention on Washington. We focus all of our attention on the presidency or on Congress or on the Supreme Court. And we forget that these are all creations of the states. The 50 states started as free and independent states. They voluntarily joined this union. The first 13 did so when they ratified the Constitution. The remaining 37 when they became states and adopted the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. See, the states should supersede the federal government. It's inverted now. We have the federal government dictating to the states what they will be allowed to do, when it was the states, through the Constitution, that dictated to what we now call the federal government what it was allowed to do. It's backwards. It's upside down, and it's dangerous. It's not only dangerous to your liberty, it's dangerous to your life. The states were declared independent by the authority and in the name of the people. The people created the states. And if the central government, what we now call the federal government, is a creation of those states, well, then the preamble of the Constitution makes a little more sense when we say, we, the people of the United States. You see, the people didn't vote for the Constitution, the states did. But the states are creations of the people. They are acting in the people's name and by the people's authority. So when the states got together and said, we don't like the Articles of Confederation, we want to create a new constitution, and they said, we the people of the United States, they were talking about the people in their states. Why did they do that? In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States. We created the Constitution to do a few things, right? To perfect the Union, to establish justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for a common defense, and to promote a general welfare, and most importantly, to secure the blessings of liberty, both to ourselves and our posterity. Those are the generations that follow. How can we do this when we not only ignore, but we invert what the Constitution created? When we place the creation above its creator? When we let the tail wag the dog? You want to know why justice is so fleeting in America? Why there's no domestic tranquility? Why the common defense is always in question? Why the blessings of liberty are under attack, it seems, each and every day? Because we've ignored the Constitution that we ordained and established through our states. Now, when we created the federal government, when we created this central government, we created Congress, we created the presidency, we created the courts, the federal courts. We put boundaries around them. And we made those boundaries strong. Article 6, Clause 2 reads, the Constitution and laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state notwithstanding. Now, a lot of people look at this and say, see, the federal government, they pass a law, it's the supreme law. No, 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 no. Only laws made pursuant to the Constitution. Both Alexander Hamilton in Federalist 78 and Chief Justice Marshall in the Marbury versus Madison case noted that an act of Congress, that an act of a delegated authority, contrary to its commission, contrary to the Constitution, is void. It is empty. So yes, judges in your state are bound by the Constitution, but they're only bound to the laws of the United States made pursuant to the Constitution. Anything else is legally ignorable. And those treaties, only the treaties that are made under the authority of the United States, in other words, that the United States, the federal government, can actually do. See, people have turned around and said, well, Congress can do whatever they want and we have to follow. No. Congress is a creation of we the people and our states. They have rules and boundaries and laws, and they need to be held accountable to it. And in fact, as a reminder of their requirement of following the Constitution, we find that all of these officers have to take an oath. And Article 6, Clause 3 reads, quote, "The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution." Every officer at the state and federal level is required in their oath of office to swear or affirm to support the Constitution of the United States. So when you see someone saying, when you see a law enforcement officer or an elected officer or even a judge saying, "I'm just doing my job," no, you swore or affirmed to support the Constitution. When they put what Congress does above the Constitution, they're violating their oath of office. When a judge puts a precedent above the Constitution, they are violating their oath of office. See, we established a system where we, the people, created states. We put boundaries around those states with our state constitutions. The states, in our name, created a federal government, a central government, a United States, the Union itself. And we put boundaries around its government. But you see, we ignore that, and we ignore that daily. Trust me, it seems like almost every day I'm reading some article or posting some event about some inversion of the power structure that the Constitution created for us. There's a reason why I tell people to focus local. Because the Constitution, in the 10th Amendment, just to make sure this is absolutely true, just to reinforce this idea that the federal government is limited, we have the 10th Amendment, which reads, quote, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." Meaning any power that the Constitution does not delegate to the United States can't exercise. Period. And no if, no ands, no exceptions, no provisos. They can't, legally. And then if a power is not granted to the United States, but it's not prohibited to the states, well, then the states hold that power. But if it's not granted to the United States and it's prohibited to the states, it's reserved to we the people. Now, why is this so important? There's a reason why I say focus local. You should be involved with your state and with your county and your city. You need to focus local. Because we have to remember, the cities, towns, and counties existed before we had states. We had counties when we were colonies. So the people in your local area, you have the most control over them. You have the most sway over them. You have the most impact in elections for a county or a city official, much more than you would a state or a federal official. So we have more sway. You can meet them more easily. It's a lot easier for someone to drive to their county seat than it is to drive to a state capital or our nation's capital. And we can remind them that all elected officials are employees of the people. They are hired by the people through elections. And that the people who are then hired to fulfill other jobs are still bound by the constitutions of the states and of the United States. So start with your county. You have the greatest impact there. But Paul, what about the rest of the United States? If you make your county a free, safe place to exist, if you talk to your sheriff, if you talk to your county officials, and you convince them that they are there to protect your rights against state infringement, against federal infringement, that is their first and primary job. Everything else comes after that. Well, then you've got protection. You've got people that will stand with you, hopefully, and hopefully you will stand with your neighbors. Now, the next step is to deal with the states, right? Because after we had counties, we created states. In 1776, we created free and independent states. So yes, talk to your state representative or assemblyman or senator, whatever they're called. Get to know them. Be involved. I'm not talking about election campaigning. I'm talking about talking to them about the issues and topics they're dealing with. Let them know what your opinion is and why, and do so pleasantly. Do so respectfully until their actions deem them to be denied respect. I've always laughed how members of Congress are referred to as the honorable. I'm sorry, I don't see a lot of honor in what's going on there. So I talk respectfully with my representatives until they do something that's disrespectful. Now, I'm not going to have as much influence over a member of my state house as I will over the county. But remember, the states have all the powers that were not delegated to the United States nor prohibited to the states. That means all of that nonsense that's coming out of Washington, the educational plans, the transportation plans, the energy plans, the healthcare plans, all of those are illegally assumed by the United States. The United States has stolen and continues to steal the rights of the states and the people who populated and created it. And it's about time it stops. Because if we can get my state and your neighbor states to start standing up to their creation, putting it back in its place, well, now we've fixed a problem. Now, whether you think the best idea is a convention of the states or a law or whatever, before we start spending all of our time trying to fix Washington, understand Washington is a mess because our state houses let their creation get out of control. Until we fix the state houses, nothing we do is going to have a drop of effect on Washington, D.C. Until the states start standing up to Washington and saying, no, that is not a power you have. We will not let you do that. You cannot do that here. All you're doing when you're complaining to Washington is spitting in the wind. Now, sure, tell them what they're doing wrong, praise them when they do well, but understand you're spitting into the wind. You're trying to bail the Titanic with a thimble. It's just not going to work. And if you want to know how to get your state houses in order, well, a great place to start is your county seat. Getting to know your sheriff, getting to know your county executives, your county officers. Understand the power structure that was created to protect the sacred fires of liberty. If you want to know why they are under such attack, why the sacred fires of liberty are going out, it's because we've ignored the plan. We've ignored the self-government. We've ignored what was entrusted to our hands. We have let others. Now, maybe it's not you individually, depending on your age. But the question is, are we going to continue? I believe it was Albert Einstein that said doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, is a definition of insanity. Well, it seems we got a lot of insane people in this country. How about we go back to where we started? How about we go back to a truly Republican form of government, where the people elect representatives to act in their name and are held accountable by the people? And again, if we want to fix Washington, we got to fix our state houses. If we want to fix our state houses, we got to start with our counties. Because if you aren't safe in your home because your county is implementing unjust laws, everything in your state house or in Washington, D.C. doesn't really mean much when it's your sheriff's deputies that are stealing your rights. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I really wanted to explain this idea that what was created in 1776 and 1787 was a power structure where the people ruled the state and the states ruled the federal government, rather than what we have today, where the federal government rules the states, generally by bribery, and then the states rule the people by orders and dictates. It's backwards. It's upside down. and it's not the way it was created. So hopefully you found that interesting. Hopefully you found some useful information. Hopefully I've inspired you to maybe go talk to your sheriff, talk to your county officials, talk to whoever, find out, go to a county board meeting, find out who represents your area, the county, and talk to them. Get to know them. Explain to them what you expect from them, and then tell them what you'll do to support them if they protect your rights. Don't just yell at them. When I talked to my sheriff, I told him, listen, if you stand up for the rights of the people, I will stand up with you. What is it you need? Do you need someone at a press conference? Do you need someone to stand with you at some event? Do you need someone to just be there to tell you it's okay? What do you need? As long as you're protecting the rights of the people of the county, I will be there to help you. When your neighbor or the local business owner is dealing with an attack on their rights and liberties, stand with them. Go to the store that's opened against some tyrannical dictate. Go to the store that's not curtailing free speech. These are all things we can do. And hopefully you know people that it's like, this is an idea. Take this video and share it. Let other people know that we are not helpless before an all-powerful government. It's like a superhero movie, right? We're the ones with all the power. We just don't know how to use it yet. Does sound like a backstory to a superhero movie, doesn't it? It's about time we learned. Again, head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com, find out more, find this video, share it with others, donate to keep these videos coming, get your free book. If you're interested in learning more, I've got a great website for you. It's called constitutionscholars.com. Now, at this website, you can join absolutely free. You can find other people that are interested not only in the U.S. Constitution, but what's going on in your individual states. And I'm putting articles in the different state groups to provoke discussion, debate, inquiry, so that we learn what's going on. And if you like that, you can actually become an apprentice scholar and begin the process of becoming a true Constitution scholar, someone who not only has read the document, but knows it, can use it, can quote it, can be involved with helping others to understand the Constitution. If you'll do those things, if you'll share this video, if you'll join the websites, if you'll participate in your county and your state government, I will appreciate that. And if you found any use to this at all, I'll see you here next time on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing